The lunch rush at Burger Boulevard was in full swing. The fast food restaurant packed with hungry customers seeking refuge from the cold December air outside. Marcus Jenkins, a 23-year-old assistant manager with kind eyes and a wry smile, was working the register when he glanced up to see a familiar face waiting in line. Despite the baseball cap pulled low and the casual hoodie, Marcus instantly recognized Jonathan Roumie, the actor who portrayed Jesus in The Chosen, the very show that had helped Marcus rediscover his faith during the darkest period of his life. As Jonathan approached the counter, Marcus fought to maintain his professional composure while his heart raced with unexpected emotion. "Welcome to Burger Boulevard. What can I get for you today?" he asked, his voice steady despite his inner excitement. Jonathan ordered a simple meal, a chicken sandwich, fries, and a bottled water, unaware that the young man taking his order had watched every episode of The Chosen multiple times, finding comfort and direction in the portrayal of Jesus that had helped pull Marcus out of depression following his mother's death. When it came time to pay, Marcus made a split-second decision that would dramatically alter the course of his day, and ultimately, his life. "It's on me today, sir," he said quietly, swiping his own debit card through the register before Jonathan could hand over his payment. "Your work has meant a lot to me during some tough times." Jonathan looked surprised, then genuinely touched by the gesture, thanking Marcus warmly while the line of customers behind him continued to grow. What happens when a simple act of gratitude collides with corporate policy? How does one moment of personal connection ripple outward to change multiple lives? This is the story of how Jonathan Roumie's encounter with a young fast food worker led to an unexpected journey that would transform a community and demonstrate the extraordinary power of compassion in action. Marcus had been working at Burger Boulevard for nearly 3 years, starting as a high school student and continuing through his community college classes. The flexible hours allowed him to care for his younger sister while their father worked double shifts at the local factory since their mother had passed away from cancer 18 months earlier. Despite the challenges, Marcus maintained a positive attitude at work, his natural kindness making him popular with both customers and co-workers. Jonathan found a quiet booth in the corner of the restaurant, far from the window where he might be recognized by passers-by. He wasn't trying to avoid fans, he genuinely appreciated their support, and often spoke about how humbling it was to receive their stories of how The Chosen had impacted them. But today he simply needed a moment of peace during a hectic press tour. The unexpected kindness from the young man at the register had touched him, reminding him of the real-world impact of his work beyond viewership numbers and social media engagement. As Jonathan ate his lunch, he observed Marcus at work, efficiently managing the register while simultaneously training a new employee, taking a moment to help an elderly customer find a seat, all with a patient smile that never wavered despite the demanding lunch rush. There was something compelling about the young man's demeanor, a quiet dignity despite the humble surroundings, that reminded Jonathan of stories Dallas Jenkins, the creator of The Chosen, often shared about people whose faith manifested in ordinary but meaningful ways. 20 minutes into Jonathan's meal, the atmosphere in the restaurant suddenly shifted. A stern-looking woman in a crisp Burger Boulevard corporate uniform entered through the side door, her expression severe as she beckoned Marcus away from the register. The restaurant manager, a nervous man with thinning hair and perpetually worried eyes, joined them near the employees-only area, his body language suggesting something was seriously wrong. Jonathan couldn't hear their conversation, but it was clear from Marcus's changing expression. First confusion, then dismay, and finally resignation that something significant was happening. The corporate woman gestured emphatically toward the register, then toward Jonathan's table, her voice never rising, but her disapproval evident in every movement. The manager kept nodding anxiously, occasionally attempting to interject, but mostly deferring to the corporate representative. From his corner booth, Jonathan watched with growing concern as Marcus removed his name tag and handed it to the manager, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The young man disappeared briefly into the back area, emerging minutes later without his Burger Boulevard cap or apron, now wearing just jeans and a faded blue t-shirt. As Marcus headed toward the exit, his eyes briefly met Jonathan's, a flash of embarrassment crossing his face before he quickly looked away and pushed through the door into the cold afternoon. Jonathan sat stunned, his half-eaten lunch forgotten as he pieced together what had just happened. The timing was too coincidental. Marcus had clearly been disciplined, perhaps even fired, immediately after paying for Jonathan's meal. A wave of responsibility washed over him. His presence had somehow caused this young man to lose his job. Without hesitation, Jonathan gathered his things and hurried outside, scanning the parking lot for any sign of Marcus. He spotted the young man waiting at a bus stop just beyond the restaurant property, shoulders hunched against the December chill, staring down at his phone with an expression of barely contained distress. "Excuse me," Jonathan called as he approached, his breath visible in the cold air. "I'm so sorry, but did you just lose your job because of me?" Marcus looked up, surprise replacing the worry on his face as he recognized the actor walking toward him. "Mr. Roumie," Marcus said, straightening up and attempting to compose himself. "No, sir, it wasn't your fault at all." Despite his words, the tremor in his voice told a different story. "It's company policy. We're not allowed to comp meals or pay for customers without manager approval, even on our own dime." He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Ms. Winters from corporate happened to be reviewing security footage for a training video when she saw me swipe my card for your order." Jonathan felt a knot form in his stomach as the situation became clear. "They fired you for paying for my meal with your own money?" The injustice of it struck him forcefully. This young man had made a kind gesture, not stolen from the company, and had lost his livelihood as a result. Marcus shrugged, trying to appear casual though his distress was evident. "Three strikes policy. I got written up twice before, once for giving an extra toy to a crying kid, and once for adding extra bacon to a regular customer's sandwich without charging her." As they stood there, an old sedan pulled up to the curb, its muffler rattling ominously. A young girl, perhaps 13 or 14, rolled down the passenger window, confusion evident on her face. "Marcus, why aren't you at work? Dad can't pick you up until 6. Marcus's composure cracked slightly as he turned to his sister. "Change of plans, Lily. I got off early today." The lie was transparent, his effort to shield his sister from worry immediately apparent to Jonathan. "I need to get Lily home," Marcus said quietly to Jonathan, clearly embarrassed by the situation. "It was really nice meeting you, though. Your portrayal of Jesus, it helped me through some really dark times after my mom died." The simple sincerity in his voice moved Jonathan deeply. "Please, can I give you a ride home?" Jonathan offered impulsively. "It's the least I can do since my visit cost you your job." Marcus hesitated, torn between pride and practicality as the cold wind gusted around them. Eventually, practical considerations won out. The temperature was dropping, the bus wouldn't arrive for another 20 minutes, and Lily was shivering visibly in the car. "That would be really nice. Thank you," Marcus conceded, the relief in his voice palpable. As they walked toward Lily's car, Jonathan made a decision that went beyond a simple ride home. He wouldn't let the situation stand without trying to make it right. The drive to the Jenkins' modest apartment took about 15 minutes, during which Lily overcame her initial shyness to pepper Jonathan with questions about The Chosen and what it was like to play Jesus. Her innocent enthusiasm provided a brief respite from the tension of the situation. Though Jonathan noticed how Marcus periodically checked his phone, the worry lines around his eyes deepening as he scrolled through what appeared to be banking information. Their apartment building was worn but well maintained, clearly housing working families doing their best to make ends meet. "Would you like to come in for a minute?" Marcus offered as they parked, his hospitality overcoming his embarrassment. "My dad won't be home for hours, but I could make some coffee." The invitation was genuine despite the young man's obvious discomfort at having a celebrity see their humble living conditions. Jonathan accepted gratefully, following Marcus and Lily up 3 flights of stairs to a small but scrupulously clean apartment. Family photos lined the walls, many featuring a smiling woman who bore a striking resemblance to both siblings. Their mother, Jonathan assumed. A small Christmas tree stood in the corner, modestly decorated with clearly homemade ornaments, a few wrapped presents already placed beneath it. As Marcus busied himself in the kitchen making coffee, Lily gave Jonathan an impromptu tour of their home, her pride in their space evident despite its simplicity. "That's Mom's sewing machine," she explained, pointing to a vintage Singer covered with a cloth in the corner. "Marcus is teaching me how to use it. He says I might be able to make some money fixing clothes for people in the building." Her matter-of-fact discussion of contributing to the family finances spoke volumes about their situation. When they settled at the small kitchen table with mugs of coffee, Jonathan gently asked Marcus about his situation. "I hope you don't mind me asking, but will losing this job be a serious problem?" Marcus hesitated, clearly uncomfortable discussing financial matters, but also seemingly relieved to voice his concerns. "The holidays are always tight, but we were managing," he admitted. "I've been applying for better jobs, but nothing's come through yet." As they talked, the full picture emerged. Marcus had put his own college plans on hold after his mother's illness and death, focusing instead on supporting his father and sister. The job at Burger Boulevard had provided steady income and health insurance, which was essential for Lily's asthma medication. Now, just weeks before Christmas, that stability had vanished because of one compassionate gesture. "I don't regret it," Marcus said firmly, meeting Jonathan's gaze across the table. "Your portrayal of Jesus in The Chosen helped me hold on to my faith when Mom was dying. Those scenes where Jesus meets people in their suffering, it felt like he was meeting me in mine." The simple testimony struck Jonathan deeply, a reminder of the profound responsibility that came with portraying such a significant figure for so many viewers. Before Jonathan could respond, the apartment door opened, and a tired-looking man in work clothes entered, stopping short at the unexpected sight of a visitor. "Dad, you're home early," Lily exclaimed, rushing to hug him. Marcus stood quickly, tension visible in his shoulders, as he prepared to explain both the presence of a celebrity in their kitchen and the loss of his job in the same conversation. Robert Jenkins listened silently as Marcus explained the day's events, his weathered face revealing little emotion beyond a flicker of concern when his son mentioned being fired. When Marcus finished speaking, Robert extended his hand to Jonathan with simple dignity. "Thank you for bringing my children home safely, Mr. Roumie. Your show has meant a great deal to our family during difficult times." The man's grace in the face of yet another challenge moved Jonathan profoundly. "I'm so sorry about Marcus's job," Jonathan said, shaking Robert's hand firmly. "It seems incredibly unfair that he was fired for a simple act of kindness." Robert sighed, the sound carrying the weight of a man accustomed to life's injustices. "Fairness doesn't always factor into these situations, unfortunately. We'll figure something out, we always do." His quiet resilience reminded Jonathan of his own father's strength during challenging times. As Jonathan prepared to leave, promising to stay in touch, an idea began forming in his mind. Not a handout, which he sensed would hurt the family's pride more than help them, but perhaps an opportunity that could address their immediate needs while respecting their dignity. The Jenkins family had touched him with their faith and resilience amid hardship, embodying the very values The Chosen sought to portray through its stories of ordinary people encountering extraordinary grace. Back in his hotel room that evening, Jonathan made several phone calls, starting with Dallas Jenkins, the creator and director of The Chosen. He explained the situation with Marcus, describing the young man's character and work ethic, and his family's challenging circumstances. Dallas listened thoughtfully, having heard countless stories of how the show had impacted viewers, but particularly moved by the direct connection between their work and this family's experience. Next, Jonathan contacted Katie, the production's community outreach coordinator, who had been looking for local staff to help with their upcoming Christmas special filming in the area. "I think I've found someone perfect for that temporary position we discussed," Jonathan explained, outlining Marcus's situation and qualifications. "He has experience managing people, he's responsible, and he already understands and believes in the mission of the show." His final call was to his own agent, discussing an idea that had been growing in his mind throughout the evening. I'd like to use part of my speaking fee from tomorrow's event to set up a small scholarship fund, Jonathan explained. Not just for Marcus, but for others in similar situations, people who've had to postpone education to support their families. The idea felt right, addressing the systemic issues that created such precarious situations for families like the Jenkins. The following morning, Jonathan returned to Burger Boulevard, this time asking specifically to speak with the manager. The same nervous man from the day before ushered him into a small office, clearly flustered by the unexpected visit from a celebrity. "How can I help you, Mr. Roumie?" he asked, straightening papers on his cluttered desk in an attempt to appear organized. "I'd like to discuss what happened with Marcus Jenkins yesterday," Jonathan began, maintaining a friendly but firm tone. "I understand he was fired for paying for my meal with his own money." The manager shifted uncomfortably, avoiding direct eye contact. "That was a corporate decision, sir. We have strict policies about register procedures, and Marcus had previous violations." Jonathan leaned forward slightly, his expression serious. "Those violations were adding an extra toy for a crying child and some bacon for a regular customer, correct?" The manager's surprise indicated that Jonathan had his facts straight. "That sounds less like a problematic employee and more like someone with exceptional customer service instincts." His words were measured, not accusatory, but gently challenging the corporate logic that had cost a good employee his livelihood. "I don't have the authority to rehire him," the manager admitted, seeming genuinely regretful. "Ms. Winters from corporate made the final decision. She said examples needed to be made to maintain standards across all locations." The admission revealed the impersonal nature of the decision. Marcus hadn't been fired for poor performance, but to serve as a warning to others, a reality that strengthened Jonathan's resolve to help. "I understand," Jonathan replied, standing to leave. "Just so you know, I'll be sharing this story during my interview with Channel 8 this afternoon. Not to criticize your restaurant specifically, but as an example of how corporate policies sometimes penalize the very qualities businesses should value most: compassion and generosity." He kept his tone conversational, not threatening, but the implication was clear. The manager paled slightly, undoubtedly imagining the corporate reaction to negative publicity from a well-known actor with a substantial following. "Perhaps I could call Miss Winters and see if there's been any reconsideration of Marcus's case," he suggested hastily. "Sometimes these decisions can be reviewed in light of special circumstances." Jonathan smiled, thanking him for his time and leaving his contact information should there be any developments. That afternoon, Jonathan arrived at the Jenkins apartment with a specific purpose in mind. Robert answered the door, surprised to see him again so soon. "Mr. Roumie, we weren't expecting you." Jonathan smiled warmly. "Please, call me Jonathan. Is Marcus home? I have something I'd like to discuss with him." There was no charity in his manner, only the respect of one professional for another. Marcus joined them in the small living room, clearly curious about the unexpected visit. "I might have a job opportunity for you," Jonathan began without preamble, explaining the temporary position with the chosen production team. "It's initially just for the Christmas special we're filming locally, about 6 weeks of work, but there could be possibilities for continued employment if things go well." The young man's expression transformed as Jonathan outlined the role, assisting with local logistics, helping coordinate extras, and generally supporting the production team. "The pay is better than Burger Boulevard," Jonathan added with a smile, "and more importantly, the hours would allow you to enroll in at least one college course next semester if you wanted to." He was careful to present this as a legitimate job offer based on Marcus's qualifications, not as charity arising from pity. "Why would you do this for me?" Marcus asked quietly, genuine confusion in his voice. "You barely know me." Jonathan considered his answer carefully, wanting to convey the truth without embarrassing the young man. "Because your story resonated with me," he finally said. "And because the show is about seeing people as Jesus saw them, not just for their current circumstances but for their potential and their worth." Robert, who had been listening silently, nodded slowly. "My son is a hard worker, Mr. Roumie. He won't let you down." The simple statement contained both gratitude and pride, a father affirming his son's character while accepting help that preserved their dignity. Marcus looked at his father, then back to Jonathan, straightening his shoulders slightly as he extended his hand. "Thank you for this opportunity. I promise I'll earn every penny." As they discussed the details, Lily burst through the front door, returning from school with typical teenage energy that momentarily faltered at the sight of Jonathan in their living room again. "Are you in trouble for paying for his food?" she asked her brother directly, protective instincts flaring. Marcus smiled, the first genuine smile Jonathan had seen from him. "Actually, Lily, I just got offered a job working on The Chosen." Lily's reaction, pure, unfiltered excitement that had her literally jumping up and down, provided a welcome moment of levity. "Does this mean I can visit the set? Can I meet the actors? Can I be an extra?" Her rapid-fire questions made everyone laugh, the tension of the past 24 hours finally beginning to dissolve as possibility replaced loss in the Jenkins household. Before leaving, Jonathan shared his other news that Burger Boulevard's corporate office had suddenly become interested in reviewing Marcus's termination after learning about Jonathan's television interview scheduled for that evening. "I didn't threaten them," Jonathan clarified, "just mentioned that I might discuss how corporate policies sometimes punish kindness." Marcus and Robert exchanged knowing glances, understanding the subtle leverage Jonathan had applied on their behalf. "Even if they offer to rehire you, the production job is still yours if you want it," Jonathan assured Marcus. "But having options is always good, especially if you decide to negotiate for better conditions or higher pay." This practical advice, treating Marcus as a professional with choices rather than a charity case, seemed to strengthen the young man's confidence visibly, his posture becoming more assured as they talked. That evening's television interview went exactly as Jonathan had planned. When asked about meaningful fan encounters, he shared the story of Marcus paying for his meal and subsequently losing his job, careful to focus on the young man's character and faith, rather than criticizing Burger Boulevard directly. "It reminded me that our show isn't just entertainment. For some viewers, it's a genuine source of spiritual support during difficult times," he explained to the interviewer. Within hours of the broadcast, Burger Boulevard's corporate Twitter account posted a statement. "We value employees who go above and beyond for customers. We're reviewing recent personnel decisions and recommitting to our core values of service and community." The carefully worded non-apology made no specific commitments but clearly indicated the company was feeling the pressure of public scrutiny. The following morning, Marcus received a call from Ms. Winters herself, offering not just reinstatement, but a promotion to shift manager with increased pay and benefits. "Your customer service skills have been reconsidered in light of additional context," she explained stiffly, making no direct reference to Jonathan or the television interview. "We believe you embody the Burger Boulevard spirit and would like to offer you a growth opportunity." Marcus listened politely to the offer, thanking Mistress Winters for her reconsideration, but explaining that he had accepted another position more aligned with his long-term goals. "I appreciate the opportunity Burger Boulevard gave me," he concluded graciously, displaying a professionalism beyond his years. "I wish the restaurant continued success." The ability to decline the offer that just yesterday would have seemed like a lifeline was perhaps the most significant indication of how rapidly his circumstances had changed. 2 days later, Marcus began his new role with the Chosen production team. His first day was spent shadowing Katie, the outreach coordinator, learning the complex logistics of managing hundreds of extras while maintaining the show's uniquely welcoming atmosphere. Though initially overwhelmed by the scale of the operation, Marcus quickly demonstrated the same efficiency and warmth that had made him successful at Burger Boulevard, earning approving nods from the production staff. Jonathan made a point of greeting Marcus during a brief break in filming, introducing him to other cast members and the director, making clear through his actions that the young man was a valued team member, not a charity project. Dallas Jenkins took a particular interest in Marcus after hearing his story, spending nearly 30 minutes discussing how the show had impacted the Jenkins family during Mrs. Jenkins's illness and after her passing. By the end of his first week, Marcus had proven himself so capable that his responsibilities were expanded to include coordinating with local businesses, providing services to the production. One of his first assignments was negotiating with area restaurants for crew meals, including, in a moment of perfect irony, the very Burger Boulevard location that had fired him, which now offered a substantial discount in an obvious attempt to generate positive publicity. As Christmas approached, the production schedule intensified, with everyone working long hours to complete filming before the holiday break. Marcus thrived under the pressure, his natural organizational skills and calm demeanor making him a stabilizing presence amid the controlled chaos of a television set. Several department heads had already asked Katie if Marcus might be available for the next filming block, a testament to his quickly established reputation. On December 23rd, the final day of shooting before the holiday, Jonathan invited the entire Jenkins family to visit the set. Lily was beside herself with excitement, Robert quietly impressed by the scope of the production, and even Marcus, now familiar with the daily operations, seemed to see everything with fresh eyes as he showed his family around the various departments and introduced them to the team members he'd been working with. During a break in filming, Dallas gathered the cast and crew for a special announcement. As many of you know, we've been working on establishing a scholarship program for the past few months, he began, gesturing for Jonathan to join him. Today we're officially launching the Chosen Pathways Scholarship for students who've had to interrupt their education due to family responsibilities or financial hardship. Jonathan stepped forward, explaining how the idea had crystallized after meeting Marcus and learning about his postponed educational goals. We're honored to announce that Marcus Jenkins will be our first recipient, he concluded, inviting a stunned Marcus to join them. This scholarship will cover tuition and books for his return to college next semester, allowing him to balance his education with his family responsibilities. The crew's enthusiastic applause reflected their genuine appreciation for Marcus, who had quickly become a valued team member over the past weeks. Robert's eyes shone with unshed tears as he watched his son shake hands with Dallas and Jonathan, pride and gratitude evident in every line of his weathered face. Lily bounced on her toes, recording everything on her phone to show her friends later. Marcus was momentarily speechless, overwhelmed by the public recognition and unexpected opportunity. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady despite his evident emotion. "Thank you for seeing value in me beyond a fast food uniform," he said simply. "My mother always taught us that faith means trusting God's plan even when your own path seems blocked. I'm beginning to understand what she meant." The celebration continued with a makeshift Christmas party after the day's shooting wrapped, the production team having secretly arranged small gifts for Lily and a generous gift card for Robert. The genuine warmth and inclusion, extended to the entire Jenkins family, demonstrated that this wasn't just about helping Marcus. It was about recognizing and supporting the family unit that had maintained its strength and faith through significant hardship. As they drove home that evening, Robert broke the family's contented silence. "Your mother would be so proud of you, son," he said quietly. "Not because of the scholarship or the job, but because you never stopped being kind, even when kindness cost you something." The simple affirmation seemed to touch Marcus more deeply than all the public recognition had. A father's acknowledgement of his son's character transcending the day's more tangible rewards. Christmas morning in the Jenkins apartment was more abundant than they had anticipated just weeks earlier. Beyond the modest gifts they had planned for each other, several packages had arrived from the Chosen team. Practical items like winter coats and boots, but also thoughtful personal touches, like art supplies for Lily and specialty coffee for Robert, indicating that Jonathan had paid attention to their individual interests during his visits. The holiday season passed quickly, with Marcus continuing to work on post-production tasks, even as he enrolled in 2 evening classes for the spring semester. His experience with the show had clarified his educational goals. He now planned to study business and communications, inspired by the production management roles he'd been exposed to. The temporary position that had started as a lifeline was evolving into a potential career path. In mid-January, the local newspaper ran a feature story about Marcus, focusing not on his firing from Burger Boulevard, but on his role with The Chosen and the scholarship program his situation had inspired. The article highlighted how a single encounter had sparked a wider initiative that would help dozens of students in similar circumstances, transforming an individual setback into a community benefit. The publicity prompted an unexpected response from Burger Boulevard's corporate headquarters, a formal apology to Marcus, and an announcement that they were revising their employee policies to allow more discretion in customer service decisions. More significantly, they pledged an annual contribution to the Chosen Pathway Scholarship, a corporate mea culpa that transformed their initial misstep into meaningful support for students facing obstacles similar to Marcus's. By February, what had begun as a temporary position for Marcus had evolved into a part-time role that accommodated his class schedule. The production team valued his local knowledge and community connections as they began planning the next season's filming, which would return to the area in the summer. His insider understanding of both the show's mission and the local community made him uniquely valuable as a liaison between the two. Marcus thrived in his courses, his practical experience with the production giving context to the business and communication concepts he was studying. His professors noted his unusual maturity and real-world perspective, several commenting that he asked questions and offered insights that reflected experience beyond his years. The scholarship removed the financial pressure that had previously made education seem like an unattainable luxury. As winter turned to spring, another positive development emerged for the Jenkins family. The immigration paperwork for Robert's brother, stuck in processing for nearly 3 years, was finally approved. Miguel Jenkins would be arriving from Guatemala in April, providing additional family support and allowing Robert to reduce his punishing work schedule somewhat. The timing seemed providential, another piece falling into place after so many challenges. Jonathan, now filming in another location, kept in regular contact with Marcus, their initial encounter having evolved into a genuine mentorship. Their conversations ranged from practical career advice to deeper discussions about faith and purpose, with Jonathan often sharing his own journey of balancing artistic ambition with spiritual growth. For Marcus, these exchanges provided both professional guidance and personal encouragement during his transition. In a particularly meaningful gesture, Jonathan arranged for Marcus to attend a faith-based leadership conference in Chicago, covering the expenses and ensuring he was introduced to several industry professionals who could provide additional mentorship. Networking isn't just about advancing your career, Jonathan advised Marcus before the event. It's about building relationships with people who share your values and can help you grow in multiple dimensions. By late spring, the ripple effects of that initial encounter at Burger Boulevard had extended far beyond Marcus's immediate circumstances. The scholarship program had selected its first full cohort of recipients, 12 students from various backgrounds who had interrupted their education due to family responsibilities, financial hardship, or other significant life challenges. Marcus was asked to speak at their orientation, his story having become the founding narrative of the initiative. Standing before the group of scholarship recipients, Marcus shared his journey with simple eloquence. 6 months ago, I was a fast food worker who had set aside my own dreams to help support my family after my mother's death. Today, I'm a college student with a meaningful job in an industry I'm passionate about, working alongside people who value both my skills and my story. His words resonated deeply with the other recipients, each facing their own versions of interrupted potential. The transformation in Marcus was evident not just in his circumstances, but in his demeanor. The quiet dignity he had always possessed, now accompanied by a confidence that came from being valued for his full self, not just his labor. He carried himself differently, spoke more assertively, and approached challenges with a strategic mindset developed through his dual experiences in education and professional work. Lily, too, was flourishing in this new chapter of their family life. Her brother's experience had expanded her sense of possibility, reinforcing their mother's teachings that faith and hard work could overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Her academic performance improved as financial stress eased in their household, and she began actively planning for college herself, something that had previously seemed like a distant dream. Robert Jenkins perhaps underwent the most subtle but significant transformation. The constant worry lines that had marked his face began to ease as multiple forms of support. Marcus's improved employment, Miguel's arrival, the scholarship reducing educational expenses, gradually relieved the crushing responsibility he had carried alone since his wife's death. He even began occasionally attending a grief support group at their church, finally allowing himself to process his own loss, now that survival was less precarious. In June, when the chosen production returned to the area for filming, Marcus's role expanded significantly. No longer a novice learning the basics, he now helped train new production assistants, his natural teaching abilities complementing his growing technical knowledge. Several senior crew members commented on his unusual combination of humility and competence, qualities that made him both well-liked and highly respected on set. On the anniversary of their first meeting, Jonathan invited Marcus to lunch, not at Burger Boulevard, but at a local family restaurant owned by a supporter of the show. As they shared a meal and reflected on the year's developments, Jonathan posed a question: "Have you thought about what your mother would make of all this?" The query wasn't casual, but intentional, acknowledging the spiritual dimension of Marcus's journey. Marcus considered the question carefully, his expression thoughtful. "She always told us that God works in mysterious ways," he replied finally. "I think she'd see my getting fired as part of a larger plan that I couldn't recognize at the time." He smiled slightly, adding, "Mom was big on Romans 8:28. All things work together for good for those who love God." I didn't always believe that, especially after we lost her, but the past year has made it easier to see. Their conversation shifted to Marcus's expanding responsibilities with the production, with Jonathan offering insights from his own career path about balancing growth and learning. "The most valuable people in this industry aren't necessarily the most talented but the most reliable and adaptable," he advised. "Technical skills can be taught, but character and work ethic are innate, and you have those in abundance." As summer progressed, Marcus's dual roles as student and production team member created natural opportunities to apply classroom concepts to real-world situations. A marketing assignment became a proposal for local community engagement around the show's filming. A management class project evolved into streamlined protocols for coordinating extras. His professors frequently used his work as examples, impressed by the practical applications of theoretical concepts. In August, something unexpected happened. Burger Boulevard's regional manager contacted Marcus with a consulting offer. The company was revamping its employee training program and wanted his input on customer service protocols and staff development. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus, who initially hesitated, but ultimately agreed after discussing it with Jonathan and Dallas. "Sometimes the most powerful statement is returning to help improve a system that once rejected you," Dallas observed. Marcus approached the consulting project with professionalism and genuine insight, drawing on both his direct experience at the restaurant and the broader perspective he'd gained since. His recommendations focused on empowering employees to make customer service decisions within reasonable parameters, creating a culture of trust rather than rigid rule following. The company implemented several of his suggestions, even featuring his story, with permission, in their revised training materials. As the fall semester began, Marcus's schedule became increasingly demanding. Classes, production responsibilities, and now occasional speaking engagements at youth groups and church events, where his story of faith and perseverance resonated strongly. Jonathan, noting the potential for burnout, gently advised him on the importance of sustainable rhythms and learning to decline opportunities when necessary, wisdom gained from his own experiences with overcommitment. "Success isn't just achieving goals," Jonathan counseled during one of their regular check-in calls. "It's maintaining balance and protecting what matters most: your relationship with God, your family, your health. I've learned that lesson the hard way more than once." For Marcus, who had grown up with examples of sacrificial work ethic from both parents, this perspective on success as more than mere achievement offered important recalibration. The scholarship program continued to evolve, with Marcus taking an increasingly active role in its development. His insights as both recipient and now a peer mentor shaped new components, addressing not just financial barriers, but also the practical and emotional challenges of returning to education after significant interruptions. His lived experience lent credibility to initiatives that might otherwise have remained well-intentioned but less effectively targeted. In October, the Jenkins family celebrated a milestone: Robert's final payment on the medical bills from his wife's treatment, an achievement that represented both closure on a painful chapter and newfound financial freedom. The small celebration they held, with Jonathan joining via video call, marked a transition from survival mode to something approaching normalcy, a shift that seemed almost miraculous given their circumstances a year earlier. As the holiday season approached again, the contrast with the previous year was striking. Marcus was thriving academically, on track to transfer to a 4-year university the following fall, with most of his core requirements completed. Lily had been selected for an advanced math program at her school, her confidence growing as financial stress no longer dominated their family dynamic. Robert, with his brother Miguel now sharing household responsibilities, had reduced his work schedule enough to be present for family dinners most evenings. The Christmas special that had been filming during Marcus's first days with the production premiered in early December, with the Jenkins family invited to a special local screening. Seeing the finished product with credits that included Marcus's name brought home the reality of how much had changed. Jonathan, attending the screening virtually due to filming commitments elsewhere, made a point of publicly acknowledging Marcus's contributions during the Q&A session that followed. 2 weeks before Christmas, Marcus received news that completed the year's transformation. His father's company had finally approved his application for a management training program, a promotion that would provide better hours and significantly increased pay. Robert had applied 3 times previously without success, but his reduced stress levels and improved work-life balance had allowed him to prepare more effectively for the interview process this time around. The Jenkins family's Christmas celebration this year bore little resemblance to the tense, uncertain holiday of the previous December. Friends from the chosen production team joined them for dinner, their small apartment filled with laughter and conversation. The modest tree now had professionally wrapped gifts beneath it. But the most meaningful change wasn't material. It was the atmosphere of hope and possibility that had replaced last year's quiet desperation. As they gathered around the table, Robert asked Jonathan, joining via video call from his family's celebration across the country, to offer the blessing. The actor's simple prayer acknowledged the journey they had all shared over the past year, expressing gratitude not just for improved circumstances, but for the relationships formed and lessons learned through both challenges and opportunities. His words resonated deeply with everyone present, capturing the spiritual dimension of their shared experience. After dinner, as they exchanged gifts, Marcus presented Jonathan with something unexpected: a handcrafted wooden box made by Robert and Miguel, containing a leather-bound journal with a handwritten note inside. For the man who reminded us that faith works through people, the inscription read, "Thank you for being the hands that helped when we needed them most." The simple gift visibly moved Jonathan, who recognized the thought and personal investment it represented. The new year brought exciting developments for the scholarship program, which had attracted attention from several major donors, impressed by its focus on students with interrupted education paths. Marcus was invited to join the selection committee, his perspective as a recipient providing valuable insight into evaluating applications. The program was expanding from 12 to 20 students for the coming academic year, with plans for further growth. In February, Jonathan arranged a special opportunity for Marcus, shadowing the production team during pre-production meetings for the upcoming season. This behind-the-scenes experience exposed him to the creative and logistical planning processes that preceded actual filming, from script discussions to location scouting to budget management. For Marcus, whose interest in production had evolved from necessity to genuine passion, this access was invaluable professional education. During these meetings, Marcus surprised everyone, including himself, by offering a suggestion about a challenging location issue that had been stumping the team. Drawing on his local knowledge and community connections, he proposed an alternative approach that ultimately saved both time and money. Dallas Jenkins made a point of crediting Marcus's solution during the next production meeting, establishing him as a valued contributor rather than just an observer. As spring semester progressed, Marcus's professors began discussing transfer options for his junior year. His outstanding academic performance, combined with his professional experience with The Chosen, made him an attractive candidate for several university programs. One professor, particularly impressed with his work, offered to connect him with the film studies department at a prestigious state university that had strong industry ties. A possibility of continuing his education at a higher level while maintaining his role with the production presented both opportunity and challenge. Marcus discussed the options with his father and Jonathan, weighing practical considerations like location and scheduling against the potential career benefits of a specialized program. The conversation itself represented tremendous progress, now considering which excellent opportunity to pursue, rather than simply struggling to find any path forward. In April, Burger Boulevard's corporate office contacted Marcus again, this time with a surprising proposal. Based on the success of his consulting work on their training program, they wanted to feature his story in a national advertising campaign focused on second chances and community values. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus or his family. The company that had fired him now wanted to celebrate his journey as an inspirational narrative. After careful consideration and discussions with Jonathan and the production team, Marcus agreed to the campaign with specific conditions: that the advertising accurately represent both his termination and subsequent journey, that a portion of the campaign budget be donated to the scholarship program, and that Burger Boulevard commit to concrete policy changes supporting employees continuing their education. To his surprise, the company accepted all his terms. The resulting commercial, which began airing in May, took a surprisingly honest approach for corporate advertising. It acknowledged the company's initial mistake in firing Marcus, highlighted his character and resilience, and positioned Burger Boulevard's new employee support initiatives as learning and growth, rather than claiming they had always valued their workers. The authenticity of the message resonated with viewers, generating positive attention for both the company and the scholarship program. As the one-year anniversary of his firing approached, Marcus found himself reflecting on the extraordinary chain of events it had set in motion. During a quiet evening at home, he shared these thoughts with his father and sister. If I hadn't recognized Jonathan that day, if I hadn't decided to pay for his meal, if he hadn't noticed when I got fired, none of this would have happened, he marveled. It's like Mom always said about God working in mysterious ways. Robert nodded thoughtfully, his weathered face more relaxed than it had been in years. Your mother also used to say that character reveals itself in moments of decision, not in moments of convenience, he reminded his son. You chose kindness when it cost you something. That choice revealed who you are, and it allowed others to see your true value. The simple wisdom captured something essential about their journey, about how a single authentic action had opened doors previously invisible. Summer brought new responsibilities as Marcus was officially promoted from production assistant to location coordinator for The Chosen, a position that recognized both his proven capabilities and his unique community connections. The role came with increased pay and more creative input, further blurring the lines between his academic studies and professional development as each continued to enhance the other. Lily, inspired by her brother's experience, had developed her own ambitious goals, involving Marcus in detailed planning discussions about her educational future. I'm thinking pre-med, she announced one evening, her young face serious but animated. I want to become an oncologist, like Dr. Reynolds, who took care of Mom. Her clarity of purpose at 14 reflected the expanded sense of possibility that had transformed their household. In July, the scholarship program held its first annual celebration, recognizing both the original cohort of students completing their first year and welcoming the new, expanded group of recipients. Marcus was asked to deliver the keynote address, a responsibility that both honored and terrified him. Jonathan, unable to attend in person, sent extensive notes to help Marcus prepare, coaching him through the process of crafting a meaningful message. Standing at the podium before an audience that included scholarship recipients, donors, community leaders, and his own family, Marcus spoke with a confidence that would have been unimaginable 18 months earlier. A single act of kindness, even when it seems small, can create ripples that transform lives in ways we never anticipate. He began going on to share not just his own story, but the broader vision of creating opportunities for those whose education had been interrupted by life's challenges. Jonathan watched the speech via livestream, visibly proud as Marcus delivered a message that was polished yet authentic, inspiring without glossing over real difficulties. The young man who had once nervously accepted help was now extending it to others, his natural leadership qualities emerging as his circumstances stabilized and his confidence grew. The mentorship relationship that had begun with a chance encounter was evolving into something approaching a partnership of shared values and complementary strengths. In August, Marcus received the formal acceptance letter from the State University's Film and Business program, along with a partial scholarship that, combined with his continuing employment with The Chosen, would make the transition financially feasible. The campus was close enough to allow him to continue living at home for his junior year, maintaining family stability while advancing his education. As Marcus prepared for this next chapter, Jonathan arranged a special experience, 2 days on set during filming at a different location, allowing Marcus to observe production techniques and team dynamics in a new environment. This exposure to different aspects of the industry broadened his perspective and confirmed his growing interest in the production side of storytelling, where logistics, creativity, and mission intersected. During this visit, Dallas Jenkins took Marcus aside for a meaningful conversation about long-term possibilities. "We've been watching your growth this past year," the director told him. "Your combination of organizational skills, local knowledge, and understanding of our mission is increasingly valuable to us. As you finish your degree, we'd like to discuss creating a more permanent role that could grow with your capabilities." The offer represented not just employment, but a potential career path aligned with Marcus's developing professional identity. Returning home with this promising possibility on the horizon, Marcus shared the news with his father and sister during a family dinner. From fired at a fast food restaurant to potential career with The Chosen, he reflected, still somewhat amazed by the trajectory. "All because I recognized Jonathan that day and decided to pay for his meal." The simple summary highlighted the extraordinary domino effect that had followed one small decision. Robert, who had watched his son's transformation with quiet pride, offered his perspective. "The opportunity came because Jonathan noticed you getting fired," he pointed out. "But everything that's happened since, your work ethic, your grades, how you've helped shape the scholarship program, that's all you, son." The door opened unexpectedly, but you're the one who walked through it and kept moving forward. His words acknowledged both the grace of unexpected opportunity and the responsibility of making the most of it. As fall semester began, with Marcus now balancing university classes with his continuing role on the production, he made a point of mentoring 2 new scholarship recipients who had similar backgrounds to his own. "When someone invests in you, you have a responsibility to invest in others," he explained when Jonathan commented on this additional commitment. "That's how momentary help becomes lasting change." His understanding of this principle reflected profound personal growth over the past 18 months. The Burger Boulevard advertising campaign featuring Marcus's story had unexpected reach, attracting attention from national business publications interested in how the company had transformed a potential PR disaster into a positive narrative about corporate learning and second chances. Several articles highlighted the scholarship program that had emerged from the incident, bringing additional donors and expanding its impact beyond what anyone had initially imagined. In October, nearly 2 years after their first encounter, Jonathan's filming schedule finally brought him back to the city where the Jenkins family lived. The reunion was joyful, with Marcus proudly showing Jonathan around his university campus and introducing him to professors who had become mentors. The contrast between this confident university student and the exhausted fast food worker Jonathan had first met couldn't have been more striking. During this visit, Jonathan shared news of his own. The Chosen was developing a foundation to formalize and expand various outreach initiatives that had grown organically alongside the Here production, including the scholarship program. "We'd like you to be involved in shaping this," he told Marcus. "Your perspective as someone who's been on both sides, recipient and now provider, gives you unique insight we need." The invitation acknowledged Marcus's evolution from beneficiary to contributor in their shared mission. That evening, over dinner with the entire Jenkins family, Jonathan reflected on the extraordinary chain of events their encounter had initiated. "When I walked into that Burger Boulevard, I was just looking for a quick meal between interviews," he recalled. "I had no idea I was about to witness something that would change multiple lives, including my own." His candid acknowledgement that he, too, had been transformed by their connection resonated deeply with everyone at the table. Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "I almost didn't say anything when I recognized you," he admitted. "I was worried it would seem unprofessional. Then I almost didn't offer to pay for your meal because I thought you might find it offensive, like I assumed you needed help or something." The alternate paths not taken hung in the air for a moment, a reminder of how easily meaningful connections can be missed when fear or social convention overrides authentic impulses. "I'm glad you took the risk," Jonathan said simply. "It reminds me of what we try to show in The Chosen, that meaningful encounters often begin with someone stepping outside conventional boundaries to make a genuine connection." The parallel between Marcus's experience and the show's central themes highlighted the real-world application of principles they worked to portray on screen, art, and life, reflecting and reinforcing each other. The conversation continued late into the evening, moving beyond recounting past events to exploring future possibilities for Marcus's education and career, for expanding the scholarship program's impact, for new ways to support families facing circumstances similar to what the Jenkins had experienced. The focus had shifted from crisis management to vision building, from receiving help to creating systems that would extend help to others. Before leaving, Jonathan presented the family with preview access to the upcoming season of The Chosen, allowing them to see episodes that wouldn't air publicly for several months. This privileged insider status represented more than a nice perk. It symbolized their evolution from fans to members of the extended production family, their story now intertwined with the show's broader narrative and mission. As they watched the first episode together, Marcus found himself viewing the production differently than he had before, not just as an inspiring story, but as a complex creative and logistical achievement involving hundreds of professionals working in concert. His growing industry knowledge gave him new appreciation for both the artistic choices and practical challenges involved, deepening his connection to the work beyond its spiritual impact. The following week, Marcus received a surprise invitation to speak at a national conference focused on corporate social responsibility, specifically addressing how businesses could better support employees pursuing education while working. The invitation had come through Burger Boulevard's corporate office, another unexpected positive development. From what had initially seemed like a career disaster, his story was becoming a case study in how companies could learn from mistakes and create more supportive workplace cultures. In preparing for this speaking opportunity, Marcus worked closely with Jonathan, who shared insights from his own public speaking experiences. "Remember that your authentic story is more powerful than any polished presentation techniques," the actor advised. "People connect with genuine experience shared honestly, especially when it acknowledges both struggles and grace." The mentorship continued to evolve, addressing new challenges as Marcus's professional opportunities expanded. As the 2-year anniversary of their first meeting approached, Marcus reflected on how completely his life had transformed, from struggling to support his family while deferring his own dreams to pursuing education, building a promising career, and helping create opportunities for others facing similar challenges. The material improvements were significant, but the deeper transformation involved purpose, confidence, and a sense of agency previously suppressed by constant crisis management. The Jenkins family celebrated Christmas that year with a stability and peace that now felt normal rather than miraculous. Robert was thriving in his management position, Lily was excelling academically while planning for college, and Marcus was successfully balancing university studies with his expanding role in production. Miguel had settled in as a permanent part of their household, his presence providing additional emotional and practical support that strengthened their family unit. During the holiday gathering, which again included several members of the chosen production team, Jonathan raised a toast that captured the journey they had shared. "To unexpected encounters that reveal character," he said, raising his glass. "To kindness that costs something, to seeing value where others see only circumstances, and to the extraordinary things that happen when we recognize the divine potential in each other." As the new year began, Marcus's story continued evolving in ways no one could have predicted. When a fast food worker recognized an actor in line and made a simple gesture of appreciation. The scholarship program was preparing to expand nationally. Marcus was being considered for a broader role with the production company, and the Jenkins family had moved from survival, stability to genuine thriving, not just financially, but emotionally and spiritually as well. The ripple effects extended far beyond one family, touching hundreds of lives through the scholarship program, influencing corporate policies at Burger Boulevard and beyond, and providing a compelling real-world example of the values The Chosen sought to portray on screen. What had begun as a moment of recognition between two strangers had catalyzed changes that continued multiplying in scope and impact, demonstrating the extraordinary power of human connection. Have you ever experienced a moment when what seemed like a setback revealed unexpected opportunities? Have you witnessed how a single connection can transform not just individual lives, but entire communities? Jonathan Roumie's encounter with a fast food worker reminds us that our most meaningful legacy may emerge from unplanned moments of authentic recognition and response. Those times when we see beyond someone's current circumstances to their inherent value and potential. Like, subscribe and share if you believe that sometimes the most powerful acts of kindness are the ones that cost us something in the moment, but create ripples of transformation that extend far beyond what we could have imagined.